We recently heard the story of the sage Vitahavya's inquiry, and Ram's asking some questions. Ram asked, "How is it that worms and vermin did not destroy Vitahavya's body when it lay abandoned in the cave? And how was it that Vitahavya did not attain disembodied liberation in the first place?" Ram was referring to the part of the story where the sage Vitahavya entered into samadhi for 300 years. And within that time he lived other lives. And then eventually he came back to his body. And his body hadn't disintegrated. Now, this is the Yoga Vasishta, and it's described as the supreme yoga. And the supreme yoga is the yoga of self-enquiry. And if that's what we are getting now, then Vasistha would surely have reminded Ram that what has been described as Vitahavya is only a notion in our mind. It was only a story. As am I, and so are you. This is what was said at the end of chapter 88. But instead, Vasistha tries to answer the question why Vitahavya's body did not decompose. So it seems to me we're not getting the supreme yoga here. What we're getting is yogic notions. They should really just be dismissed as notions. But the Yoga Vasistha arose within a particular context. Within that context, certain notions were regarded as very important. Such notions as reincarnation, notions like can you be liberated while still being in a body, or does true liberation come when you abandon the body, which seems to be what was indicated by the story of Vitahavya. And along with the stories of yoga, we get stories of supernormal powers and all the rest of it, which was addressed in the last video. So let's just quickly read through what Vasistha says. Vasistha replied, "O Ram, the ignorant man's body is composed and decomposed on account of the states of his mental conditioning. In the case of one who has no such conditioning, there is no momentum for decomposition. Again, the mind of all beings responds to the qualities of the object with which it comes into contact. When a violent creature comes into contact with one who has reached utter equanimity, it also becomes temporarily equanimous and tranquil, though it may return to its violence when this contact is lost. Hence too, Vitahavya's body remained unharmed. This applies even to material substances like earth, wood, etc., for consciousness pervades all. Since Vitahavya's consciousness did not undergo any change, no change happened to his body. Since there was no movement of prana in it, even decomposition could not take place. The sage is independent and free to live or to abandon the body. That he did not abandon the body at one time and did so later is purely coincidental. It may be related to his karma, etc., but in truth he is beyond karma, beyond fate, and devoid of mental conditioning. Again, it is like the crow dislodging the ripe coconut, purely coincidental." I'm not sure there's anything we can get from that passage. We shouldn't really take a conceptual expression of realization as the basis for any kind of theory, whether it's to do with spiritual practice or to do with some kind of physical or mental therapy, because you can go in any direction you like. any conceptual expression of realization is purely provisional. The intellectual, the conceptual expression of realization does not contain within itself any truth whatsoever. So this talk about why Vitahavya's body did not decompose in terms of his mental conditioning or the omnipresence of consciousness is highly dubious and shouldn't really be happening. Whether Vitahavya's body decomposed or not is an irrelevance, as is Ram's original question about why we don't see many of these liberated sages traversing the sky now. Well, we certainly don't see them traversing the sky nowadays, do they? And if they didn't traverse the sky in Rama's time, then when did they traverse the sky? It leads one to conclude that liberated sages generally do not traverse the sky. So notions are notions. Whether they are yogic notions or not, they are still notions. And there are passages in the Yoga Vasistha where words are put into Vasistha's mouth by somebody who quite clearly finds it difficult to let go of some of these notions, some of these yogic notions. And there are passages where these notions are let go. This isn't my opinion only. Within the Yoga Vasistha, it puts all these yogic notions into perspective. Yogic notions are notions. They are notions like the body, like the mind, like external world appearance. And they're all notions which we can let go of through self-enquiry.